that kind of situation has also come up on me where I've done that. It's not because you're indecisive. A lot of times it's because you're curious also. So excessive curiosity, not sure what decision to take, kind of triggers this. But this particular image is derived upon a very interesting poem that is very dear to me from my high school days, actually. It's a pretty poem written by Robert Frost. It's called The Road Not Taken. So if you read through the poem, it just tells you why, when two roads diverge, and how the motivation it was to take a path which looked like no one has not walked much. This translates to everything in our life, right? um, we all want to be that exclusive personality, we want to present that exclusivity. Some people are very simple and they want to not stand out. Now this is again perceptive, again your behavior, again who you are as a person, all of these things come into play. But most of it is again the whole concept that's underlying here is how do I make decisions. um, with this simple introduction, I would like to take you all into a deeper thought process on decisions that we take. Right? We'll come back to this poem towards the end of the session. Right? Um, I would request if someone is interested to share their feedback about what they have seen, more than happy to take it. Okay, let's take it forward. I believe decision making is a skill. I don't know about people who are listening in. Maybe you think it's an art, maybe you think हाँ decision थाने पकड़ रहा है तो उसमें क्या बड़ी बात है. This can be the scenario as well. But if you want to consider making a small activity out of this and trying to understand, let's pick a topic and let's split up into smaller groups and let's just think about it, right? um, what's one important decision you made today and how did you make it? Are you regretting it, or are you happy about it? So I'll just give you my own example of today. Srihari sir called me like 20 25 minutes ago, and he said, ready na madam, never first. I was like, shit, what just happened? And the reason why I said it is like, when I called him, when he called, I was just entering my house from my workplace, and 2 minutes after it I called him back and he's like, you're the first one to do. I was like, I'm not even prepped, I'm not sure. When I started and when I came in, I was not ready. But Sandeep sir gave 5 minutes extra. Then I was like very happy with my decision. Ha, koi baat nahi. Now I'm ready to do it. 5 minutes is enough for me to get prepped. Sometimes, as small decisions as this have a pros and cons to it that we don't realize. These kind of decisions we take, it may not be like a very strategic, life-changing decision. It's something that we do every day. Looking at this more from the perspective of a student or as someone who's in the age band of 15 to 2025, if you take this thought process further and look at it, right? What are the things that affect this kind of age band of people normally who are in the education background and who are studying on a regular basis? What do I eat for breakfast if they're living alone? What do I wear to college? Oh, there's a lot of thought process comes in, what do I wear? When we look at these kind of things, we also need to understand what is a decision, right? Sometimes decisions can be very difficult. It can be, what do I study? Do I study something uh, which is very easy for me? Do I study something very difficult? Uh, and when you shift a little across and when you come to a more 25 plus age band of people who have picked up a job and are working, and then you're not okay with your boss, you fought with your boss, you decide कि हाँ मुझे, I think I should change my job, and then you maybe had a bad experience, you're not able to perform, you think of changing your job. Something happens in your family, you think of changing your job. These are all again decisions. In every situation, you have to search for who, what, where, when, how, and why. This, in short, are called as the WH questions, right? When we ask these WH questions and how, is when we can arrive at a decision. As much as we would like to say decision making is very simple, we do it every day, it's not that tough, but it is sometimes very tough. Something as simple as there's a banana and an apple in front of you. What do you eat when you're hungry? depends on how hungry you are, or just depends on what is your mood. That's something very simple. But life changing decisions like, should I get married, should I change the job, should I take a loan, should I buy a car, should I go to this exam or not, all these things are going to require more energy and efforts and more thought process. So how do you take this, how to make sure that you're taking a right decision, right? So when we look at decision as such, it is a strategic process that involves definitely a lot of steps. When the question that you have for decision making is slightly more complex than picking a dress or picking a food to eat. Let's look at this entire decision making process through the lens of going to a restaurant to buy food when you're hungry. And I'm picking this example because it's a little simplified example that all of us can relate to, but yet involves a slightly more complex decision making. So let's say, for example, you have 50 rupees with you. 50 is too small today. Let's say 100 rupees with you, and you want to pick something to eat, right? You have a McDonald's, you have an Udupi Upahar. There are two choices that you have, and there are a couple of other restaurants too, but you immediately take that out of your decision making process because your choices go out. When we're looking at this wheel, right, the problem is you're hungry, you need to eat. What are your choices? Your choices are McD, Udupi Upahar, or some other 3, 4 bigger restaurants. You immediately move out the Udupi and the bigger restaurants because of a simple factor that they no longer fit into your budget. You know that. So the only two choices in front of you is McDonald's or Udupi Upahar. Then you analyze the consequences. Okay, what happens if I go to McD? What happens if I go to Udupi Upahar? Simple, right? When you go to McDonald's, there's a possibility that your bill can become 500, but when you go to Udupi Upahar, there's a lesser possibility that your bill will shoot up to 500. You can pick up one dosa, maybe one coffee, and you still have two things to do, and your bill will still somehow balance between 100 rupees. Now, this is where things get more complex. Your value system is there, and then your feelings are there. You're like trying to figure out, okay, my value says, I should stick to the budget, but then I'm feeling like eating a burger. What do I do? Then you think a little bit more. What is the consequences? Can I look for more information? In today's date, you can go to Google and check how does McDonald's menu look like? What all can I buy for 100 bucks? And then you also can think of the 7th step, which is, can someone help? Can I ask someone? Maybe you can ask someone who's coming out of the restaurant in Udupi that, or you can just go walk in because these upahars have bigger boards. You can just walk in and see, can I afford something a little bit more? And then you ultimately land on a decision. You realize that I can get a burger for 50 bucks. So I'm feeling like eating a burger. I will still walk into a McDonald's, pick the cheapest burger, eat an aloo tikki burger, and come out. You had a problem, you were hungry, you had 100 bucks. That was the constraint that you had for your problem to be solved. You took a decision to go buy a McDonald's burger. For a simple problem with a simple consequence, we could still go through all the processes of the decision making and we could take a decision. For any complex problem today that we face, we can go through this cycle and take a decision. Not necessary that you have to take every step, but you may or may not take some steps, right? In short, this is how you can look at decision making. If time permits, we can go a little further and look at some questions and some more examples. Sandeep sir?
Okay, you are done with it?
Yeah, this was what I had. I have some more content. Can I go a little bit more, or
yeah, you can go. No problem.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So I took an example and I explained all of that, right? So if you look at each question, so each step, and we look at what questions will come in each step. It is, what is the problem? And then what are the choices you have? Are they the only options you have? We discussed, right? When we're looking at options, we did have other restaurants, but they immediately went out of your options or your choices because they were out of your budget. And then you look at consequences. What do you think the consequence of these choices will be for yourself and for others involved in it? What values do you need to consider when you're taking this decision? How do you feel about the situation? Is there anything else you need to learn about it? This is the more info wala thing. Do you need to ask help from someone? If you need to ask help, whom will you ask? And then what is your decision? You take a final decision. After that, there is still a last part which we didn't discuss earlier, which is the after effect of the decision making. Let's say after you eat the burger and come out, do you feel it's a right decision you've made? If yes, why? Maybe you should ask the why, maybe you shouldn't ask the why. You went in, had the burger, came out, you're happy. Right? This ultimately is the breakdown of questions for the decision wheel that we are talking about. There are several models which people present for decision making. I personally feel this is a very, very simple decision wheel that we can use when we are trying to come to decisions. I have worked with a lot of people in their business decision makings, and we have seen significant results when they start taking choices when while thinking of this wheel in their head, uh, where the major part is understand what choices you have, consequences, feelings, and values, and then do I need uh, to get help and then taking a decision. This has fairly played out good results when people are making decisions of how much should I sell, should I fire someone, should I not fire someone, should I hire someone, these kind of decisions as well, right? Going towards a little activity kind of a thing. If we look at uh, one question that we want to pick up. There's a person called as Amy. She wants a new cell phone. Unfortunately, the one she wants costs 15,000 rupees and she has only 10,000. So look at this interesting scenario. The previous example we picked up, we said we have 100 rupees and we're going to eliminate the choices which are beyond 100 rupees. This scenario is slightly different. The question is, how do I make sure that I get that additional 5,000 rupees to make sure I am able to procure that particular cell phone that I want? So let us look at the options, right? Options that has is one, save her money until she has got enough money. Second choice is borrow money from parents or friends. Third one is buy a cheaper phone. Fourth one is opt for an EMI option. All of the four are valid options. Now let's review the first option a little bit more. What are the consequences? Positive thing is she'll feel proud that she accomplished and she will get the phone that she really wants. The negative part of that is she needs to wait. Now another thing that is not got factored in this is, does she really need it right now, or can it be also later, right? So that we have not factored in. Let's say she doesn't really need it at that moment. It's just a good thing to have. When we go ahead and look at borrowing from her parents or friends, what is the positive and the negatives? Amy will get a phone right away because she's borrowing. And then the negative is she won't feel very independent. Array, I took someone's help to take this, and parents and friends may say no to her if she decides to go ask them. They may say no, right? You don't. There's no guarantee that she'll really be getting that money from them. If she doesn't get that money and they say no, there may be other consequences to it. Maybe her values feel hurt, or she will feel bad because someone refused, and then parents may have other consequences. Why do you need to buy an expensive phone? If you don't have money, don't buy it. This kind of conversations can happen. Relationships may go sour. That is a problem there. Buying a cheaper phone, Amy will get a phone right away, but she won't get the phone she really wants. Again, she may have decided to buy that phone based on a lot of thinking as to why she needs it, right? So it's not really a good option to look for a cheaper phone. Opting for an EMI option, she will get the phone right away, and there is a possibility that she may lose the device before she finishes paying EMI. Because we're looking at every kind of positive, negative, we've also accounted for this positive and negative option. So in this situation, the most apt that looks maybe different for each person. I may say I will still go with I think Amy should go with the EMI option. Someone else might say something else. There's no right or wrong choice. It just factors a lot of perspectives, our values, and our perception of consequences. Why do I use the word perception here a lot? Is because what we feel and what we perceive about it may be significantly different from what actually it is. And that's how human mindset works. And that's why decision making feels like a heavy burden, right? So that's the end of it. That's a wrap uh, that I wanted to discuss a little about decision making. What we covered today was a simple understanding of why decision making is kind of a tedious thing, and yet we do it on an everyday basis. We looked at complex decisions like changing jobs and simpler decisions like picking a food. We analyzed decision wheel using an example, and we also looked at another scenario.